Hey everybody, it's Thumper the Shredding Hippie, and I am here to do a board review. And the board that I'm going to review for you today is the one you're looking at here, which is the NSP CSE Shaper Union Butter Knife. So, I just bought this board recently, and I bought it online, and I don't do that. Well, I guess I've been doing it more often lately. But I don't normally do that because, I want good boards, obviously. So I'd never bought an NSP before, and I spent months thinking about it and then did some research on it and decided I would go ahead and bite the bullet and give it a try. And I'm really glad I did. I took it out today and I surfed on it for, excuse me, I surfed on it for like 3 hours until I just couldn't paddle anymore. And in all seriousness, they say, you got to be careful sometimes when you go out with a longboard because you'll piss off the shortboarders. I mean, one guy wanted to fight me. He actually came in out of the water and threw his board down and threw up his hands and said, "Let's go." Now, the shredding hippie does not cut people off. I'm not an aggressive guy out there. He just was so pissed that I was doing so well and he wasn't. And he said something to me, about, you need to stay the hell away from me. And I'm like, dude, you need to relax. I'm nowhere near you. I'm not taking off in front of you and all that. And he started calling me all kinds of names and I don't know, whatever. And I took a wave in and then he came in after me. But, I heard him earlier on talking to his friend about how he needed a bigger board because he saw me catching all of these waves and tearing it up. So I took it out today. It's an 8.6 and it was a quad fin. I stuck, just your basic quad fin setup that you get, the plastic ones, the cheap ones. I just stuff it in there and it just did so well. Now let me explain to you why it did so well and why I bought it. So, you've probably heard me tell the story. As you know, my favorite all-time board of all time is the Stewart 949. And I started surfing that when I was in Manhattan Beach. And as you know, the waves in Manhattan Beach can be really dumpy, meaning that they come in and they're thick and they're hollow and they're fast and walled out. And so, when you get a good day there, it's great. On south swells, it just, just. But when you get a north swell, a northeast swell come in, it's amazing and it's so much fun. And I had my 949, which has crazy single to double concave, and I had an 8.6 23x3 949, huge behemoth. But in those waves, it surfed really well, and I surfed that thing in head high plus barreling, and it would just go almost completely vertical, and it was so fast and so sexy, and crazy turns on it, and that's why I love the 949. And my favorite shortboard is a 949, and I use that whenever it gets above shoulder high. I use that 949. Now I went out today on my brand new NSP, and as it turned out, it was head high today. Now, as you know, when you're looking at it, it looks small, and you paddle out, and that's a lot bigger than I thought. Well, so I'm out there and I thought, well, this will be a good test for this 8.6 longboard. Now, to let you know about this guy, the guy who shapes it, his name is Carl Schopper. And apparently, I didn't know this about him until I really started getting serious about perhaps buying this board, and I started researching it. For months, I looked at it. I'll be honest with you. At least a couple months went by, and I was just so stoked at looking at that 5-fin setup and going, I need that. I want one. But I'm like, you know what? I don't know anything about that board. It's where's it made? It looks, it's online. I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about NSP. I've never ridden NSP. I see it everywhere. People learn on it. I figure I don't know what I'm getting. But this guy is a premier shaper for a lot of champion surfers all over the world, but especially known in Hawaii. And this guy right here, his name is Bonga Perkins, is a guy who rides, I don't know exclusively, but he's a team rider for this guy, and he rides not this exact model, but the exact design It just has it has a little less. I think it's a little thinner and not quite as thick. But other than that, it's exactly the same. I think in a 9 foot. And so he rides. Here you can see him. Looks like he's surfing California there, but he's really laying in a turn, and you see him with pictures of him going completely vertical on a 9 foot board. Of course, he's a champion, but the board has to be able to perform for somebody like this to be able to want to surf it all the time. He's also known for surfing this same design in pipeline, and that's him, backdoor pipeline, I believe. And he's known for just charging, huge pipeline on these 9 foot longboards. And this is the design. So when I found out that this was the design that this guy uses, that got my attention. But what really sold it for me was, as I said, what I found out is that the reason why my 949, because I brought an 8 foot epoxy 949 out here with me when I first came to Queensland, started surfing Queensland, up in the Sunshine Coast here. It just sucked. Even in big waves. I took it out in big waves. It was just a tank. And I realized that it's taken me a year to realize, because I've done all kinds of experimentation, is because the bottom contours are not meant for these waves. So even when these waves come and they do pitch and they do barrel, they still got kind of they're not completely like square, like those, like the waves if you've ever surfed like Redondo Beach on a big swell, it just comes right up to the shore like France, or like, in what's that, the Mexican pipeline, wherever the hell that is, same kind of thing. I mean, so those kinds of waves the 949 loves those waves. It hated these waves. Does the opposite. In El Porto, which was my home break where I'd walk out and go surfing, the waves would do this for a long time, and then and you just hope that there was a nice corner on it to surf, and then you had a blast. And those single to double concaves were just perfect, quad fin, perfect. And I took that 8.6 out on big days, and it was just so much fun. So I thought it would do well here. It didn't. I couldn't figure out what was going on. A year later, I've now completely changed my understanding about boards. I only take my 949 out. I have 2 of them, but they're my short boards, and I only take them out when it's head high. Because otherwise, if I take it out in smaller waves, they just don't perform because the waves aren't the same. So I found that what works well here, especially when it's smaller, is boards that have a rolled V going to a V. So a big, a displacement hull as opposed to a convex hull. And so I've had so much fun on I have a big 8.8 pig single fin that it's 24 inches wide. I mean, I can't carry it down the beach, but on small days it's just amazing. And then I have a 710 pig from the same guys, same thing, the rolled V in the front to a big, subtle V out the back, and same thing. It's just in medium-sized waves. It's just so much fun, and you can nose ride it and all that. So now I figured it out. Got it. These waves, the opposite. They come in and they break and they peel, and they pitch over and they peel, and then they calm down. So, the only time my 949s was fun is on the takeoff. And then after the takeoff, it was boring as hell. But now I am loving this board. So this NSP, I was surprised when I heard that a Hawaiian shaper who shapes longboards for guys who go out to pipeline on double overhead days on 9-foot longboards, that the shape on this longboard was a rolled to a V. I thought, but when I saw this, these films of this guy, going off, and surfing things like that, and going completely vertical, I thought, well, there must be something to it. And so I got this in the mail. It showed up, and I just simply stuck in the 4. I had 4 Futures, those cheap plastic white ones that you get. They're the cheapest ones. I had just the quad fin of that, and I just stuck it in there. And I went out today looking at the surf from where I was, it looked like it was maybe 1 to 2 foot. And I thought this would be a perfect day. I got out there and it was head high. So I was like, ooh. And I started off, I took it out to a really mushy peak, one that just kind of went in and then went flat because I wanted to see, is this thing going to like surfing in mushy, flat waves, even though, there's a good set. And sure enough, it did. And I was able to test it out by, after you've gone, taken off through the barrel and you've bottom turned and then it mushes out, you go to the nose. And if the nose holds you up, then you know that it's doing its job. Was I able to turn it well when it was mushy? Yeah, I was able to lay in, these really nice cutbacks. So then I said, okay, now I know it'll work good in small and mushy waves, and I could see that it was doing what I wanted. So then I got out and I walked down the beach and looked for better lined up, peak, and I found some really nice bowly peaks, and I took it out, and sure enough, it was just handling it well. I took off on some things, just like I would with my 949, just sideways as the thing is pitching over super late. And it wasn't exactly the same. Those 949s just dig in the side because those rails are so sharp, it just digs in and phew. Well, this one was a little different, but because I had a quad fin on there, the outside fins did come free. I could feel that, but the inside fins held. And it did take me, I totally handled that steep takeoff really well. And it really loves to be in the pocket. So unlike, again, if you've got like my 949, one of the things that it would do that was, depending on the wave was great or not, was that if the takeoff was steep and then it mushed out, then you would just, when you'd be past the shoulder and you couldn't get, you'd have to, get a plane to fly you back into the wave. But what this one does is that because of the bottom, it likes to stay in the pocket. So it looks for the pocket of the wave. And I found that to be really cool. And I could nose ride it really well, and it was super stable. And it was the kind of stable where if you wanted to nose ride it, you could. And if you wanted to sit on the tail and throw it around, you could. And it liked to be surfed everywhere on the board. So, I just had a blast. It's made out of epoxy. Some kind of epoxy thing that I don't know what the hell, secure so blah, 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 blah. But the shaper himself was saying how strong these boards are. It's got carbon, on the tail patch there, and it's got carbon on the bottom. And, he said it's very sturdy. And I figure this guy, he shapes for, really famous surfers all over the world. So his name is on it. So he knows what he's doing. I loved that the contours on the bottom are the same that that this guy has here on his boards, same contours. So I knew that the design was going to work well based on that. And today it definitely did. And again, the only downside is you are going to catch so many waves that if you're out there with somebody who has borderline personality disorder and he sees you catching all the waves, he's going to chase you in and try and pick a fight with you. Anyway, I wasn't the only guy. He actually punched somebody else. Did I say that? He punched some other guy. So he was having a bad day, and I just made it worse because I was having such a good time on my board. Anyway, so I give this the thumbs up. And again, figure out what you're gonna use your board for and what the waves are gonna be like. I have now determined that this board here will work in all conditions. A lot of boards say that. My 949 did not work in all conditions, and the conditions that it worked well in, it's unbeatable. But this one actually does work phenomenally in all conditions. And I've only ridden it as a quad fin. And if you know anything about quad fins, if the quad fin, a big 8.6, even just because you put 5 fins in it doesn't mean it's going to work as a quad. I've found that out multiple times. So if I just stick, stock future plastic fins in there and it works phenomenally, then this thing is designed that whoever designed it knew exactly what they were doing, and it really will work as a quad or as a 2+1 or as a tri-fin or whatever you want. And I know that some of the, I think Bonga right here, I've seen him when I looked at his setup. I think he's had it as a tri-fin before. So I'm going to be interested to try it as a tri-fin in some waves. So there you go. Know what your conditions are, know what the wave is going to be like, and if you want an all-around board, not just for really high performance, but just to learn on, I would get this one. They also make it in an 8 foot, and based on riding this one, as soon as the 8 foot NSP butter knife, and guys, get it available here to my Australian distributor. As soon as they get it out here, I'm going to buy one, because that will be my go-to all-around board. Even though this one here I've now proven will work in all conditions. That 8 foot would probably be absolutely phenomenal. Literally, like, you don't know what the waves are going to be like. Just take your 8 foot NSP butter knife down there and you're going to be stoked. It's going to work in hollows, big, small. Anyway, so that's it. I give it absolute glowing remarks, and I'm really stoked because now I get to have my happening quad fin 8.6 surfboard that I've been waiting for, trying to replace for a whole, over a year now. So that's it. More board reviews coming later. Thanks a lot. I will see you guys next time.